Well, dear learners, I welcome you all in this session on consignment accounts, part 1. So, this session is meant for the BCom students, and you all might be well aware that the producers often make use of services of selling agents and distributors in their channel of distribution. This is particularly true of the agricultural goods. Selling agents and distributors act in various ways. One of the method used is to receive the goods on consignment basis, and under this system the agent receives the good and undertakes to sell it on the behalf of the consignor. So, here the consignor is a person who asks the agent to sell the goods on his behalf, and the consignee is basically an agent who sells the goods on the behalf of the consignor. He often settles the account. It means the consignee often settles the account of the consignor after all the goods received from him have been sold. So, dear friends, you must be very clear about the concept of the consignee and the consignor. So, the consignor is a person who asks the agent, who asks the consignee to sell the goods on his behalf, and the consignee is a person, or consignee is an agent who sells the goods of the consignor on his behalf. We know the method of working out the profit on each consignment when all goods are sold out. In practice, you will find that at the time of submitting the account sale, some goods may remain unsold. So, here this terminology account sale. So, account sale is nothing, rather it is a statement produced by the consignee to the consignor, in which the description of the goods, the quantity of the goods sold by the consignee is mentioned, and the number of units which are left out, the rate at which the units have been sold. So, all the details pertaining to the sales made by the consignee is mentioned in the account sale. Some goods may remain unsold. Then there is also a possibility of loss while the goods are in transit or while they are lying in the godown of the consignee. So, such loss may occur due to normal or abnormal causes. So, yes, of course, we will discuss the accounting treatment of normal loss and abnormal loss as well. Well friends, in this session you will learn how the value of unsold goods is worked out and recorded in the books of the account, because there may always be a possibility that the 100% of the goods consigned by the consignor may not be sold off by the consignee. Therefore, the learners will learn about the treatment of normal and abnormal losses which may take place in transit or in the godown of the consignee, and their impact on valuation of stock and profit on consignment. So, in case if the normal and abnormal loss takes place, then we will have to see the impact of normal and abnormal losses on the valuation of closing stock and on the profit on consignment. So, these two things are quite essentials when we need to calculate the amount of normal and abnormal loss. Then the question is, what is consignment? So, well friends, as we have discussed that when the goods are sent by a manufacturer or by a trader to an agent to be sold by him on commission basis and at the risk and account of the consignor. So, here the agents act as a seller. He tries to sell the goods on the behalf of the consignor and on commission basis. The risk is completely of the consignor. So, consignee is not at all about the risk involved in the entire process. So, they are said to be sent on consignment. So, when the goods is sent by the consignor to the consignee to be sold off on the commission basis, and the risk is exclusively of the consignor, not that of consignee. So, let us now discuss the features of the consignment. The first one is, goods are forwarded by the consignor to the consignee with an objective of sale at a profit. Yes, of course, this is the first feature, that goods is forwarded by consignor to the consignee with an objective of sales at profit. Then the next one is, under the consignment, goods are to be treated as the property of the consignor. So, though the goods is transferred by the consignor to the consignee, but the ownership of the goods always remains with the consignor, not with that of consignee. And the goods is to be sold at the risk of the consignor only. The consignee does not buy the goods, he merely undertakes to sell the goods on the behalf of the consignor. Then the consignor does not sell the goods to the consignee, because as we have mentioned that the consignee does not buy the goods. So, in the same way, consignor does not sell the goods to the consignee. Therefore, he cannot ask the consignee to pay the price of the goods unless the goods is sold by the consignee on the behalf of the consignor and the sale proceeds are actually realized. Therefore, the next feature is, the consignee agrees to sell the goods for an agreed rate of commission. So, before making the sales of the goods, the consignor and consignees sit together and they decide the terms and conditions, and based on the terms and conditions of the agreement, the goods is sold by the consignee on the behalf of the consignor against the agreed rate of commission, and is allowed to deduct his commission due from the sales proceeds. So, here the consignee is allowed to charge his amount of commissions from the sale proceeds. Next one is, the agent enters into the picture only when he sells the goods and realizes the amount. Yes, of course, until or unless the goods is sold out and the amount is realized by the consignee, the consignor always remains in the picture. But when this things takes place, the consignee or the agents comes into the picture. As it is not a sale, whatever the consignee does is on the behalf of the consignor, and therefore all legitimate expenses incurred by the consignee for receiving and selling the goods should be reimbursed. So, it is very true that since the consignee is not the owner of the goods, therefore all the legitimate expenses incurred by the consignee for receiving and selling the goods should be reimbursed by the consignor. Any stock remaining unsold with the consignee belongs to the consignor. So, any amount of stock remain unsold up to the date of closing the final accounts. So, the consignor is the owner of the goods. The profit or loss on sale of goods sent on consignment belongs to the consignor. So the profit or loss sale on of goods sent on consignment belongs to the consignor. So any amount of profit or loss takes place on account of goods sent on consignment belongs to the consignor only. So distinction between sale and consignment. So very simple, there are two parties. In case of sale, seller and buyer are the two parties. In case of consignment, consignor and consignees are the two parties. Ownership of the goods. So in case of sale, ownership and title of the goods is transferred from seller to the buyer. But in case of consignment, the legal ownership and title of goods is always with the consignor, and it is not transferred to the consignee. It remains with the consignor till the goods is sold out. A relationship. The relationship between the seller and the buyer of goods is that of a creditor and debtor. So buyer is the creditor, seller is buyer is the creditor and seller is the debtor. The relationship between the consignor and the consignee is that of a principal and an agent. The consignee is an agent, the consignor is the principal, and the consignee sells the goods on the behalf of the consignor only. Expenses. Expenses incurred after sales of goods are borne by the buyer, whereas in case of consignment, expenses incurred by the consignee in connection with the goods consigned to him are borne by the consignor. Risk. Risk attached to the goods sold is transferred to the buyer of goods as soon as the goods are sold. In case the goods are destroyed after the sale, the loss is suffered by the buyer. So here in case of consignment, risk attached to the goods consigned lies with the consignor till the goods consigned are sold. In case the goods are destroyed, the loss is borne by the consignor only. A return of goods. A return of goods is not possible as goods once sold are not returnable, whereas in case of consignment, goods can be returned if they are not sold by the consignee. So any amount of goods unsold up to the date of closing the accounts can be sent by the consignee to the consignor. Account sale. So no account sale is required to be submitted by the buyer to the seller, whereas in case of consignment, account sale has to be submitted by the consignee to the consignor from time to time. Unsold goods. The seller has nothing to do with the goods which could not be sold, whereas in case of consignment, unsold goods with the consignee will be treated as stock of the consignor. Account sales. As the consignee is an agent and is selling the goods on the behalf of the consignor, he has to furnish the detail of sale proceeds, expenses, commission, etc. to the consignor. He furnishes all these details by means of a statement called account sale. So account sale is nothing but it is the description of the goods sold by the consignee, in which the expenses incurred by the consignee are mentioned, the amount of commission for which the consignee is entitled is mentioned, the total amount of sales is mentioned, the amount of advance which he received from the consignor is mentioned, the amount of goods unsold is mentioned, the amount of goods or the number of units sold is mentioned, the rate at which the units are sold is mentioned, the total amount of sales is mentioned. Likewise, this is the statement of comprehensive details made by the consignee. This shows the quantity and description of goods sold, sales proceeds realized, the expenses incurred by the consignee, commission due to him, and the balance amount payable by him to the consignor is mentioned. Special commission. So this is the commission which is the consignee gets over and above the ordinary commission. So it can be subdivided into two categories. The first one is overriding commission and second one is Del Credder commission. So what actually the overriding commission is all about? Let us now understand about the overriding commission. So this is an extra commission allowed over and above the normal commission and is generally offered when the agent is required to put in hard work. This commission is also given for sales at prices higher than the price fixed by the consignor. So in case if the consignor has asked the consignee to sell the goods on a particular rate, but the consignee sells the goods at the rate more than the rate asked by the consignor, then what the Del Credder commission is all about? So usually all the losses are borne by the consignor under the agreement of consignment. Sometimes the consignor expects that the consignee should also be responsible for recovering the debts and bear the loss on account of bad debts, if any. So in order to compensate him for this additional responsibility, the consignee is given some extra commission called Del Credder commission. Such commission is calculated on the total sales unless there is a special agreement to the effect that it is to be paid only on the amount of credit sales. So the Del Credder commission is always calculated on the total sales until or unless mentioned specifically. Expenses. Expenses relating to the consignment of goods are divided in two categories. Non-recurring expenses, it means these are the expenses which are of fixed in nature. All the expenses which are incurred for bringing the goods to go down of the consignees are non-recurring in nature. So it means these are the expenses which are incurred in order to bring the goods to the go down of the consignee. The non-recurring expenses will be incurred partly by the consignor and partly by the consignee. The consignor usually incur expenses on sending the goods to the consignee, such as packing, cartage, loading, insurance, freight, etc. The consignee usually incurs expenses on receiving the goods from the consignor, such as dock dues, such as custom duty, such as clearing charges, octroi, etc. Then the second one is recurring expenses. So these expenses are incurred after the goods have reached the consignee's place or go down. So once the goods reach to the go down of the consignees, then the recurring expenses start taking places. They are recurring in nature because they may be incurred repeatedly by the consignor and the consignee. The examples of recurring expenses incurred by the consignors are advertising, discount on bills, commission on collection, commission on collection of checks, traveling, expenses of salesmen, bad debts, etc. And the examples of recurring expenses incurred by the consignees are go down rent, go down insurance, sales promotion, etc. Advance. So it is a common trade practice for the consignor to demand some advance from the consignee as a security for the goods dispatched to him. It may be in the form of cash, or may be in the form of bank draft, or in the form of bill of exchange. Consignee will send some amount as an advance before or after receiving the goods from the consignor. The advance received from the consignee should not be credited to the consignment account, as it is not a part of sales proceeds. So this is simply a temporary amount which is taken by the consignor from the consignee in the on account of security for the goods dispatched to him. So advance will be adjusted against the amount due from the consignee when the accounts are finally settled. So let us discuss a question, and with the help of this question we will try to understand the implications of all these concepts like recurring expenses, non-recurring expenses, normal loss, abnormal loss, so on and so forth. Rajdhani Cycle Limited sent 2000 dynamos costing rupees 50 each for sale on consignment basis to Banerjee and Company, Kolkata. The selling price per dynamos is rupees 60. The purchase price was rupees 50 per each, and the selling price is rupees 60 each. Consignee is entitled to commission at 5% normal selling price, so 5% on normal selling price, 10% on additional 10% additional commission on excess sale, and third one is 1.5% Del Creditor commission on total sales for guaranteeing collection of credit sales. Banerjee and Company reported sales of 500 dynamos at rupees 60 each and 200 dynamos at rupees 75 each on cash basis, 400 dynamos at rupees 75 each and another 400 dynamos at rupees 80 each on credit basis. Compute the consignee's commission. So total sales 500 units have been sold against 60 each. It is mentioned 500 units at 60 each, 200 units against 75 each, 200 units against 75 each, and then 400 units against 75 each and another 400 against 80 each. 400 units against 75 each, 400 units against 80 each. So total of this sale is 1,07,000. So normal commission is 5%. So normal commission will be given on 5%. So let's see, total 500 units have been sold. Total 1500, 500, 200, 700, 1100, 1500. So total 1500 units have been sold and the selling price per unit is 60. So it is mentioned that selling price per dynamos is 60. So it is 90,000. So on this 90,000, the consignee is supposed to get 5% commission, that is rupees 4,500. Additional commission 10% on amount realized in excess of the normal price. So the total sales value was 1,07,000. The normal sales value was 90,000. So the difference is 17,000. This is the excess sale value. So on this excess sales value, the consignee is supposed to get additional commission at the rate of 10%. That is on 17,000 at the rate of 10%, 1,700. Then the Del Creditor commission at the rate of 1.5% on total sales. So total sales was 1,07,000. So 1.5% of 1,07,000 is 1,605. So here total commission of 1.1, 0.1 and 0.1, 0.2 and 0.3. For 0.1 it was 4,500. For 0.2 it was 1,700 and for 0.3 it was 1,605. So total of 0.1, 2 and 3 is 7,805. So this was all about the lecture on consignment account first. So well friends, now with the help of this illustration, now you might be very clear that how the normal commission is calculated and how the additional commission is calculated and how the Del Creditor commission is calculated. Because until or unless we are clear about the concepts, it will create a problem while calculating the amount. So because here in the question it was clearly mentioned that the consignee is entitled to get the commission at the rate of 5% on normal selling price. So the normal selling price was 60. So the consignee sold off total how many units? 500 units, then 200 units, total 700 units at the rate of this, then 400 units at the rate of this, so 700 and 400 1100, and then another 400 units at the rate of rupees 80 each. So 1100 plus this 400, total 1500 units the consignee was able to make the sales at the end of the closing of the year. So 1500 units, and the normal selling price is mentioned in the question, rupees 60 per dynamos. So therefore the normal selling price was 1500 units multiplied by rupees 60 per unit, so total it comes to 90,000 rupees. So therefore the consignee was entitled to get 5% commission on this 90,000. So that was rupees 4,500. Now additional sales, the actual sales made by the consignee was 1,07,000. So we can check it. Yes, because the consignee sells 500 units at the rate of 60 per unit, 200 units at the rate of 75 per unit, 400 units at the rate of 75 per unit, 400 units at the rate of 80 per unit. So the actual sales realized by the consignee was 1,07,000, and this was the normal sales 90,000. So the consignee was able to make sales of rupees 17,000 beyond the normal sales, because he was able to make the sales of rupees 1,07,000 and the normal sales was 90,000. So beyond this 90,000, the difference between these two, that is 17,000. So therefore the consignee is entitled to get 10% additional commissions on the sales value realized beyond the normal sales value. So 17%, 10% of 17,000 was 1,700. So this was the additional commission which the consignee was supposed to get on the additional sales over and above the normal sales. Third one is del-creditor commission. So well learners, as we all know that del-creditor commission is provided by the consignor to the consignee in order to ensure that in case if the goods is sold by the consignee to the customer on credit basis, in such a situation if the bad debts takes place and if the customer do not make the payment for the goods sold to him on credit basis, then the consignee must also be accountable for that. So in order to ensure that the consignor gives additional commission to the consignee, which is known as del-creditor commission, in order to make the consignee responsible for the credit goods, for the goods sold by him on credit basis. So this was the del-creditor commission. So del-creditor commission is always calculated on the amount of total sales until or unless mentioned otherwise. So the total sales, the actual sales was the 1,07,000. So 1.5% of 1,07,000 was 1,605. So the total amount of commission of 0.1, 0.2 and 0.3 was total 7,805. So this was all about this session on consignment account 1. So I am sure that with the help of this illustration, now students might be well clear about the procedure of calculating the normal commission, additional commission and del-creditor commission. So these are the few things which are very, very important while talking about consignment accounts. So I, Professor Sunil, extend my sincere thanks to my learners for bearing me and listening this and enjoying these sessions to the maximum extent. Thank you very much.